Flosstube! Welcome to my channel. This is Bobo Jessie Stitches, and I'm Bobo Jessie. I'm Jessie. For those of you who are returning, welcome back. It's always so nice to see you. And for those of you who are new, I know I have a handful of new subscribers. I'm not sure where you came from. So if you are new, let me know who sent you so I can thank them. Because I'm not sure if I got mentioned somewhere. But welcome for everyone. I hope that we have a nice little chat today. It's been a rough week in America, so we'll leave it at that. This is a channel primarily about cross stitching. Every once in a while, I do throw in some opinions, but I don't know if I'll be throwing opinions in today. It's been a week, but. Every once in a while, we also throw in a quilt. I do have some quilting content today, although it's going to be in my purchases section, not my actual project side of things. I don't quilt very often, but every once in a while we do a little bit of quilting on this channel. And so here we are. It's been a minute. It's been 2 months since my last video. I did record a video for my May update on what I did during Monogamous May. But I did something in the settings and everything where my frame was, I don't know how to, staticky. I guess staticky is the right word. And so let me age myself a little bit. But if those of you who may remember from the 80s Max Headroom, where he kind of had that like kind of thing, yeah, that's what I sounded like. So that was not a usable video. We'll just put it that way. And I did intend to record a new one, but my life got good busy, but a weird busy, which is that we had a lot of vacations planned, and so I just ended up not having quite enough time to re-record it. So this is gonna be a combo: my May update and my June update. I had a lot of vacation. Basically, is kind of what happened. Due to the COVID, we had vacations that were planned that got canceled and rescheduled. So in 2020, it's hard to imagine all of this and remember these schedulings correctly, but we had planned to go to a heavy metal music festival called Prog Power in Atlanta in 2020, and that's normally in September. And so we had planned to attend that, had purchased tickets and everything like that before even we had a thought on that COVID. It was like a purchase a year ahead of time and everything like that. And so we had that, and obviously that got canceled and postponed due to COVID and has anticipated. We also, at the beginning and end of 2019, beginning of 2020, had already put in our deposits down to begin and had booked our cruise that we had planned for Alaska in 2021. So those were our 2-year vacations over the course of 2 years. And because of COVID, both of them had to get canceled and both of them had to be rescheduled. So they canceled our cruise first. So that when they canceled the Prog Power Music Festival, it was originally scheduled for September of 21, hoping that a year would be sufficient. And so we were kind of working under that. And so in February of 21 or so, our cruise got canceled, and they said, hey, it's too soon, we're canceling the cruises. And so we went ahead and rescheduled it a year later, just whatever, right? We're like, well, we had planned on going beginning of June in 21. Let's go and reschedule it for the beginning of June of 22. See what happens, right? Didn't think anything about that. So we did that like in February. Well, a couple of months after that, or within a short period of time after that, the music festival contacted us and had to cancel the September 21 music festival and was rescheduled for the last week of May of 22, which meant, thankfully, the cruise did not overlap. We didn't have to worry about rescheduling the cruise, but that meant we had a week's vacation planned in Atlanta, which we shortened to just the music festival. We were only there just for the festival. And we were originally going to be there for a full week and had a whole vacation planned for Georgia. Basically, we were going to do a little tour of southern Georgia, but that didn't happen. And then we were back for like 3 days, and then we turned around and went to San Francisco for a 10-day for our cruise, 10-day cruise to Alaska out of San Francisco. We were also in San Francisco for basically, it seemed like 24 hours because we flew in the day before based on so many of the flight problems that were happening. We didn't want to risk flying into San Francisco the day of the cruise and running into any problems. And so we flew in on Thursday night and got in like around 7:30. Went to go have dinner and then promptly, I promptly got like food poisoning or something. I got sick. I was fine. Like once the food poisoning passed, I was fine. And got on the boat, and so we weren't in San Francisco. So for like the next morning, we did a tour, a 3-hour tour of San Francisco, and then had to go check in at the boat like at 1:00. So it was a very short amount of time in San Francisco. We did a tour of the music. If you know the movie The Room, it's a bit of a cult following, for which my husband is one of those cult followers. Really, it's a terrible movie, but but because of how terrible it is, it's gained a lot of fans. And so he did, for his birthday, I had bought him a custom tour of San Francisco of The Room, and so that's what we did. So that's my story. And then we were on a 10-day cruise in Alaska, and then we came back, and this is the first full week this week that I worked every single day, and it's exhausting. It's exhausting, like, because I basically been on vacation for a month. And then my boss gave us a half a day today because it's July 1st. I didn't mention that. It's July 1st. And I'm here in the United States. Monday is a federal holiday, and he tends to, not always, it's not like we don't know it will happen, but this year he did give us, he occasionally is very generous and gives us half days leading into a federal holidays, and he did that for us this year. So I'm filming Flosstube. That's my update. That's my life update. There's other stuff happening, but that's the big stuff. My husband got COVID. He recovered. I never got it. Like, at all. Like, he got it before our cruise, which made us very nervous because you have to test negative to get on the boat. And thankfully, it was early enough ahead that he was going to test negative by the time the cruise rolled around. But I was worried, right? Because of the time frame, and I hadn't gotten it. We were like, what happens if I test positive before the cruise happens? We have travel insurance and everything, so we weren't, like, it wasn't the big deal, like, if we had to reschedule, but we didn't want to. So, I never got it. I never got COVID. I did get sick on the last few days on the cruise. Tested negative. Kept testing negative. So I think I just got a cold. It was a bad cold. I still have a lingering cough. So if I cough, no, it's probably my lingering cold. Anyways, we're about cross stitch. Let's talk about cross stitch. I don't have any floss tubers to recommend. I'm still catching up on my regular people that I watch on a regular basis, so I don't think I have anybody new to mention. So that I've been watching. I would encourage people to continue to watch good floss tubers. People who don't look like you, who don't think like you, just consider it. But in terms of cross stitching community and things that I would like to share with everybody. I am part of a Discord group. I think I'm the oldest person in the group. I am old. I do not understand all the new social medias, but I'm learning. I'm learning about Discord, and I'm toying with the idea of doing some Twitch streams. We'll see about that. If you think that's an idea about doing a Twitch stream, and you would be, and if you are on Twitch and you like the idea of finding people doing those, I'm considering it. Let me know. I've also thought about just doing it as YouTube lives, but I like the idea of a Twitch, of, I don't want to be one of those weird old people, right? But I don't think I'm old. I'm a Gen Xer. I'm in the middle age. That sounds sad to say. But anyways, there is a Discord group that was founded by my friend Adele, who is Delcat Meow on Instagram. I'm not sure what her YouTube. She did have a Flosstube. For those of you may have watched her Flosstube channel. It's been a while since she recorded on that. And it's a fun group. It's just a fun group of us just chit-chatting about cross-stitching, other crafts, life's moans. If you are interested in joining, send me a message on Instagram. My Instagram is Boba_Jessie C, all down below. Go find me, send me a message, and we'll see about getting you invited into the group. General Will Wheaton rules apply. Don't be a dick. So, anyways, let's get into some stuff. So let me do my May update. I did do Monogamous May, and I did have a fling. There was a fling. We went to visit my in-laws for Mother's Day weekend, and so I did work on one project that weekend because Cinderella Wishes Upon a Dream is not necessarily an easy project to travel with. And so I realized that when I was setting myself up that I might not have set myself up well. So excuses for some reaches as we do things. So for Monogamous May, I focused on Cinderella Wishes Upon a Dream. So this is artwork by Thomas Kinkade, and it was kitted up by MCG Textiles. And funny enough, on the cruise, we like to do the art shows. If you've ever been on a cruise, they have a art person company that's on there, and they try to sell you art. And we like to go to all those things. They had a handful of the Disney Dreams Thomas Kinkades available for sale. So I saw in person the prints, the paintings for Mermaid and Bambi. Is it Bambi? So that was interesting. I learned, and I also learned that, Thomas Kinkade passed away a while ago. I think about a decade or so ago, and so there's his studio has maintained some artwork. So we learned a little bit about them. Anyways, so just some fun things. So in May, I did work on this for 27 days, and I put in 7,314 stitches. I do not count backstitching and French knots unless it helps for a challenge that I may be working on. But there was no French knots in this month. And so this is where, it's my head poking so I can make sure that on where I am. And of course, if you are on Instagram, you've already seen all of this, but this is where we are. So last time you saw it, I had finished this whole half. Like this part of it was done. And so all of this part right here is what I did in May. And I think this is beautiful. So there is obviously a fairy godmother, which I think you can really tell that it's there. I love this combination of coloring of the grays and the pinks. I think that's just a beautiful combination, and what it's going to look like. So I really, really like it. So the kits, the company is no longer in business. It's hard to find these. You can find them in the secondary market on eBay's and such, but and Etsy's, any place you can find secondary market, you can find it. You can probably find it. They are not necessarily inexpensive. I will say that there's problems with the MCG textile kits. I think that people, if you watch Flosstubes and you've seen people stitch on these, the people have mentioned it, and so just my obviously I got some time to I got some more work on it. I'm using everything in the kit. I'm using the floss. I'm using the fabric, which is an 18 count Aida, and it's a mystery floss. I don't know the company for it. For me, I know that I had seen some videos talk about the color not being color fast, that their floss leaks. A year ago, my project got wet from Winter Storm Uri when my house flooded when the pipes burst, and there was some water staining from when it got wet, but not the floss. The floss color did not bleed. So for me, the floss color is color fast. So that was not my experience. I do think that if you do happen to get one of these and you're stitching on it, I do recommend you change the fabric. I would, if you are a person who does stitch on an Evenweave or a linen, I would recommend that you change the fabric to one of those. Probably an Evenweave. I don't know. Evenweaves, Luganas are not as expensive as linens, and sometimes it depends on the linen, right? But I would recommend that because there are so many quarter stitches and half stitches, and there's just a lot of that makes it difficult to stitch, especially when you start looking at like down here you see the mice, right? And then the mice over here, those are all like those are such a pain in the rear to stitch because of the quarter stitching and things like that. And I think that if I was doing this on an Evenweave, it'd be a lot easier. And honestly, I'm also, and same thing, like from a distance, I guess it's not a big deal, but like right here is the carriage, as the horses are back stitching. Same thing. A lot of that was just quarter back stitches and stuff like that. Just super hard. And I think that if I had done this on an Evenweave, one, it would have been easier. I would have enjoyed it a little bit more. And I would have probably, and I don't know if you were to get the kit, the floss, I don't know if there would be enough floss. So if you were to change the fabric count, you would need to think about whether or not you can convert the floss. When I am done with the kit, I'll let you know if there was enough floss for the kit and whether or not I think you could go to a higher count fabric. But I do think the detail is good on this 18 counts. I'm not saying that would be the case, but I think that some of the finer detail might actually be better if this was on a 16 or 32 count. 2/2. That's my current opinion on this. But when I'm done with the whole thing, I'll give you a full-on review about how much, if there was enough floss. There are powder. My problem with this has been there was mistakes in the pattern, and so that was hard to catch. I do recommend that if you do get one without knowing when your kit is from. I bought my kit at Disneyland, and so there was mistakes in the pattern. I do recommend that you reference the picture to be sure that everything is looking correct and okay and what it's supposed to be. But that being said, though, this model also has mistakes in it. So I've actually pulled out the actual painting to see what it looks like and etc. That was a long time talking about Cinderella Wishes Upon. Here it is. I'm really happy. My goal is to try to finish this by the end of the year. Just as a reminder for anyone who is new, or just as a reminder in general, my goal for 22 is I am doing no new starts. I don't have tons of whips in general. I have 11 active whips right now. But I am doing the no new starts to 22 and 22 with my specific goal of finishing any project I started prior to 21. So any project that started in 2019 earlier, with one exception, which is Sailor Moon Squad, which I started in 2020. I am not going to be able to finish that this year. So, but that's kind of my goal. And so that's informing what choices I pick in terms of what projects I work on, etc. All right, now let's talk about June. June was a productive week, right? A month. Sorry, I got a lot done. But I should say, so in May, my total, I ended up stitching for a total of 29 days, including my fling, for 8,027 stitches. So in June, I ended up stitching for 25 days. I did stitch every day. And I put in a total of 8,531 stitches. So it seems like I used to hit around 10,000. So I'm not sure why I'm not hitting that. Doesn't matter though. It's a hobby. And as long as you're making progress, if you're a progress stitcher like myself, that's all that matters. So I had 2 finishes. Who am I? I had 2 finishes in June. And then I had 2 additional projects that I worked on. I don't know if I'm editing things, I'll put before pictures and that kind of stuff, if it makes sense. But first up, I do have let me grab this that has all my information about my projects. Get me ready to be able to tell you all the things. Here we are. All right, so my first finish was at Prague Power Heavy Metal Music Festival, and so I thought it was appropriate to work on my Aggretsuko project while I was there. It was easy to work on it because it was mostly color blocking. The lighting was not great in the venue, so I didn't need to be able to see because it was color blocking. I just needed to be able to see the holes, and I stitched it on Aida, so it worked. So this is Aggretsuko right here. So this is a finish. And this is a pattern by Prism Palette Patterns. I don't know if they don't have it on their Etsy store anymore. Sanrio is very protective of its trademarks, and so they do tend to send cease and desist letters. So I don't know if that's what happened, but it's no longer available. But that is where I got it. I put this on. This is 14 count Aida Eek by Picture This Plus. Look at that. I love it. I'm gonna try to get it framed and fully finished in the next week or so. We do have a trip planned to Michael's this weekend, so we'll see if I can find a frame for it. Oh, I love it. So I used to think that like the embodiment, the animal embodiment of me was an otter because like cute's on the outside, aggressive on the inside, apex predator. But not really. Let's be real. I think that the embodiment is Retsuko. Right? If you watch the animation, she works in an accounting department. She's super sweet on the outside, but she's raging on the inside. That's me. I also listen to heavy metal. Not like my husband. He's obviously he's like full on in the heavy metal. This was his bucket list item, was to go to this festival. But I do also listen to the metal. I don't sing in death voice though. I love it. Makes me so happy. I ended up working on this one for a total of 7 days and putting in 2,559 stitches on this. Last time you saw it, if I didn't insert it, it sounded like I'm not going to be editing the video. I had only done the outline of the whole body and then like part of the ear, and then I started working on some of the face. Now here's a question. Stitch me this, y'all. This is 2/1 on this 14 count Aida. Now from here, I think you can't tell that the coverage is kind of meh for the blanc and the 310. Up close, I think you can see, right, that the coverage is what you expect of a 310 and a blanc. But the other colors are fine. Look at that 666. Look at that yellow. The color is fine. What's up with that? Are the 310s and the blancs just a finer thread for some bizarre reason? That because at first I thought about going back and making it 3/1, right? I was like, it was early enough in the process that I was like, oh, it's easy to do. It won't take me that long to add a thread and then do everything 3/3. But then I started working on this yellow part, and I was like, the coverage is fine there. What's up, DMC? Why are you 310 and blanc not good, but everything else okay? Anyways, all right, that's my thought on the coverage. So super cute. I'm very excited about that. I love it. All right, next up was my next finish, which was Hello Petal by Caterpillar Cross Stitch. I'm doing this with the full kit from Hello Petal, from Caterpillar Cross Stitch. So it's on 28 count Evenweave, 2/2, and I worked on this for 9 days and put in 2,607 stitches. Here you go. Isn't that just cute? So what really got me into the Hello series was that I really fell in love with Hello Pumpkin. And I love Halloween. I would be Halloween, not 365, but like, 230. But then I sort of became a completionist. I was like, well, if I'm working on Hello Pumpkin, I surely have to have all the seasons. Like, I can't, what if I take Hello Pumpkin down? What am I going to put in its place? Well, so here we are. So I've also finished Hello Deer, and now we are at Hello Petal. I had thought about starting Hello Sunshine on the summer solstice, but I ended up not doing so because, again, I'm working on this plan to try to finish everything that was started prior to 21 this year. So that we. But that's not it. Anyways, I started this on April 1st, 2022, and then I finished this on June 19th. So here we are, unironed. Very excited. Okay. All right. Next up is I worked on Dees 20 Stitches, did a pretty great educational stitch along project for Pride month, and I wish I was able to participate in it more. I did not. I did try to watch as many of the videos as I could, but I didn't do any of the stitching challenges, and that's okay, I am sure. But I did work on Pride Tapestry for 2 days this month, and this is what it will look like when it is done. I only did it for 2 days, and so I put in 535 stitches. It was just a really good travel stitch because I was color blocking. And so here's what I did. This is what I did. Basically, all I did was finish filling. I had like about 4 rows left in this pink, filled it in, and then I filled in this blue right here. That's all I did. So that's all I did. This is gigantic. This is a really big piece, and so I kind of made some hard decisions about it. So one, I've decided that I'm only going to stitch the unicorn, and then I'm going to be done with it. I think I'm going to. I have purchased some fabric to make like a little wall hanging out of it when it's done, and I think that's still going to be my finishing plans. But there's still a lot. I still have this whole unicorn to fill in. So that's going to be my decision on Transpired Tapestry. Oh, this is doing this. It's the patterns by Dees 20 Stitches and the artworks by Kari Nakken. And I'm doing this on 16 count Aida hue by Fortnight Fabrics 2/1. What everything called for, except now I'm making a decision. So the called for fabric for the unicorn in itself is a diamante, a DMC diamante. Let me show you. Can you see it? Focus, there it goes. I don't love that. I don't think the coverage is very good. It is a pain to stitch with. I tried thread conditioners. I've done all sorts of things and to try to make this a little bit better to navigate, and I don't like it. So I'm going to frog that part out, and what I'm going to do is that this is an each well, and I'm going to convert the white that's charted in DMC Diamante to the white each well, and so it will have that shimmer to it, but it'll be a little bit easier to stitch with. Not that the each well is that much better to stitch with because it's also a pain in the butt, but it wasn't too bad, and I think the coverage is really pretty good. So that's my thoughts on Transpired Tapestry. My goal is to try to finish it this year. There's no reason. It's easy stitching when you don't need to think because it is just filling in the colors at this point in time. So that's my goal for that. Right. Last but not least is, I kind of arranged myself in such a way that did not make sense. I worked on Happily Ever After by the Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery. And this is what the pattern will look like when it is done. And, oops, excuse me while I pick something up. Move this so I can show you. And this is where we are now. I worked on this for 10 days and I put in 2,830 stitches. The last time you saw it, I had finished the banner for Happily Ever After. I had done the Around the World in 80 Days, and on the Owl and the Pussycat, I had done the border and most of the actual most of it. So what I did was I did Heidi, and I did Three Billy Goats Gruff, and I started working on Robin Hood. Although I haven't counted Robin Hood yet, so that's going to end up being in part of July's count. But that's okay. And so that's what I did. I love working on Frosted Pumpkin patterns. I find them to be super cute. They make me happy. And what other reason does one need to work on a cross-stitch pattern other than it makes you happy? Right? So, but yeah, so this is where we are on that. I am doing this. It's fully kitted by the Frosted Pumpkin. So I am, let me go find it real quick. It is on 28 count Belfast Linen Crystal Helix by Picture This plus 2/2 everything called for. I can't recommend Frosted Pumpkins Frosted Pumpkins patterns enough. I find them very, again, they're just happy. But of course, they're not fast, right? There's an awful lot of thread changes and everything in order to be able to do that. It's probably what accounts for my lower count, other than being on vacation. Right, that's it. That's all I did in terms of stitching, and so in my plans for July in terms of stitching, I am continuing on with my goal of finishing up projects from started before 2021. I had planned on working on Misty's Luminous Fibers Arts, Liberty Quaker, or Nuts About America. I don't really stitch patriotic pieces, but I like quirky projects. They're cute projects, and so I thought it was a cute project. But I will confess, it's a little bit hard for me to stitch anything patriotic right now. So I don't know if I'll pull it out, but it is one of the projects that I did start prior to 21, and I had planned on working on it this month. But we'll see if I'm able to if I feel motivated to pull it out. Otherwise, I'm going to continue on with Frosted Pumpkin. Has my primary focus, and then I didn't work on Cinderella at all in June, so bring back Cinderella with the goal. I have a goal in order to finish it by the end of the year, I need to stitch at least 3,000 stitches in it every month, and so I got a little bit of wiggle room because of the Monogamous May, but I do need to go ahead and start getting at least 3,000 stitches into it in July as well. Is there a 24-hour cross stitch in July, or is it in August? I don't remember. Anyway, so those are kind of my plans. And I also have a plan to do, if I don't work on Liberty Quaker, that's okay. I'm still going to be working on a project by Misty's Luminous Fiber Arts because I have signed up for the Spooky Spell Sal. And so last year she did a Jolly July one, the Christmas one. So this is a Halloween companion piece. I did not stitch the Christmas one. Maybe I will after this. But the sorry for crinkles. But I love Halloween. I like Misty's projects, and so I thought, let's do this Sal. So I am going to start that today. So the border clues already came out, and I haven't done any of that, but I am going to go ahead and start it today. But I went ahead and purchased the kit from Misty, and so this is her fabric, and it is Opulena. Opulena is the color. So, but dyed by Luminous Fiber Arts, 32 count linen. So that's going to be the called for fabric, and it's a combination of DMC, Classic Colorworks, and Weeks Dye Works floss, and so there is the thread there. Yes, I did say the name of the floss company that some people do not stitch. I have opinions on that. And people can disagree with me, and it's fair to disagree with me. And if there's things that I don't know, please let me know. But I believe very strongly that there's no such thing as perfect people, perfect responses, perfect reactions, perfect way of doing things. And if we expect people to do things at a standard that is heightened all the time, remember, you have to meet people where they are. And sometimes people are not where you want them to be, and it takes them a while to get them to where they need to be. People don't think the same way. People's levels of tolerances of different things is different. And so, but I strongly very much believe that when people do things that need improvements, they need to improve upon certain things. And you have to give people grace to improve and an opportunity to do so. And even if the improvement is imperfect, you have to give them the opportunity to do it imperfectly. Because if people who do try to improve upon things don't do it well, and they still get trashed for it, and they still get criticized for it, how does that encourage other people to make changes and to improve upon and do like that? It's like, well, if you're still going to be mad at me if I don't do it exactly the way you think I should be doing things. Just just musings, just things to think about. I think I stole that from Nithya of Daybreak Stitchery. I love how she talks about musings. I'm stealing that from you. I'm adopting it because I think it's a great way of just putting it out into the world. But things to think about, right? Like it's the, are you being hypercritical of reactions if they've done what you asked them to do and they are trying to improve upon it? If did they do it imperfectly, or did they cause more harm? So that's my thought process on that. Now, that being said, if someone wants to let me know that there's something I don't know beyond this, or what I do know, let me know. Because if people are still actively creating harm, that's a different thing. You should have consequences for that action. When people tell you you're hurting them, you acknowledge the hurt. Just saying. If someone calls out to you and says, hey, what you said or something you're doing hurts people, maybe you should listen to them. Especially if the person contacting you, asking you, that telling you that what you've done is hurting them, is a person of color. And if you are a person who's not a person of color, reaching out to someone who is a person of color and calling them out on privilege or something like that, you might want to check that a little bit, right? Just saying. Drink my tea. All right, what else did I buy? This is old, so a lot of people have already seen it, but I don't think I've shown you. I got Outlanders from Mermaid Mule, and so I went ahead and got the box. I do love the book and the show. Y'all should be aware that Outlander has good as it attempts to be in terms of portraying the history and things like that. It does fetishize Scottish culture, and I don't mean it. I mean, there is the sexual thing that's happening in Outlander, but like the culture in of itself, right? Like it is a little bit fetishized. So just kind of be aware of that there are Scottish people who have talked about how the portrayal of Scottish history, the culture, the community is actually harmful to them. And so I wanted to acknowledge that. I don't know I truly don't know all the details on why with that, but I have seen people, Scottish folk, mention it. And so it's important for me to mention it. And honestly, I don't know. I don't follow Diana Gabaldon enough to know how she's responded to those criticisms or things like that. Again, if there's something I need to know, y'all let me know, because I'm not here to harm people, right? That's not my goal. So, but that being said, there is the pattern of blood and bone, and it says on there, "Ye are blood of my blood and bone of my bone," which is a quote from the book regarding Jamie and Claire's relationship. So excited to work on that. All right, next up in my stack of things that I purchased are stuff that I got on our cruise, and so there's no particular order here. So this one is not Stitchy related, but I just wanted to show you. So one of our stops was in Victoria in British Columbia, Canada, and we did a trip to a gardens, Bernhardt Gardens. Does that sound right? And I saw this tea towel, and I just had to buy it. Look at that! Look at that beer. How can you not get that? So anyways, just thought I'd share that with you. But I did get some stitchy stuff and some quilty stuff while I was up there. Super excited about that. One thing I can't show you because it's a gift, but I did buy something. But I did try one of our goals. As long as we had enough time, my goal was in every city in Alaska that I wanted to stop at a local needlework shop or quilting shop, whichever one existed in that city. And thankfully, there was one in all 3 of the cities that we went to in Alaska, and I was able to purchase something from every location. And so one of the first ones was that this one is a little quilt kit. Let me take it out of the package. That way it's not all shiny do. And I don't remember the name of the shop that I got this from, but all of these are Alaskan. They're all from, actually, let me pull out my calendar and I can tell you what places that they were in, because I wrote down where I bought some of this stuff. So this I purchased from This I got from Changing Tides in Juneau. So this is a Raven Moon greeting card quilt. So they have a lot of ravens in Alaska. And I thought this was just absolutely beautiful. The design is by an Alaskan designer. And so, and I thought that was just lovely. And it's a full kit. So I'm hoping to be able to make that fairly soon. Just part of my projects. Oops, I'll just put that together later. Right, and then I got a couple of pieces of fabric. This one I bought in Catch a Can. I didn't write down the name of the store, but there was a fabric here that is a local designer, and it was all different types of motifs of Alaska. So that's really exciting. And then when I was in Sitka, I also purchased some fabric there that is specific to Sitka, Alaska. And here is this. I'm thinking about just making a project bag out of these, because I also purchased a kit for Southeast Alaska. Can't show you the pattern. I'm going to try to find the picture, and I know it's going to be a little glary on my phone. They did not have a model stitch picture of the available, and I'll get this printed going forward once I get this set up. But this is, so again, sorry for the glare. There it goes. This is the pattern for Southeast Alaska, and all of my stops are listed on there. And I thought this would be a fantastic souvenir of our cruise. And I didn't start it on the cruise, which I should have, obviously, but it is a local designers, local everything. So super excited about that. So those are my purchases from my Alaska trip. And then I have my regular purchases that just have been coming in. Fabric of the Month clubs. I am in the neutral Fabric of the Month club for color and cotton. So Allie from Misfit Stitches brought up a pretty good point about maybe people are feeling burnt. I should mention this before I start talking about all our purchases. The haul and stuff like that. I'm gonna let you know, I like people sharing their purchases. It does enable me a little bit, right? Because one, there's so much out there, right? There's so many designers, independent designers, and who just sell just on their websites, through Instagram, through Gumroad, or things like that. People with Etsy shops, and then there's like obviously the bigger designers who have more formal businesses that are able. Well, not. Let me rephrase that. Obviously, people who are independent designers who are not, who are selling in Etsy and Gumroad and stuff like that, are formal businesses. But the ones who do printed patterns and stuff like that, who sell in needlework shops, right? There's so much out there, so you can't see it all. There's no way. There's absolutely no way to capture all the designers that exist out there. So I find the purchases sections of videos to be fantastic. I enjoy it. I don't get upset by it. But I can appreciate that it can be overwhelming and people may not really want to spend time watching it. And so I always say, do you, right? Like if watching these things are stressful, that and you don't like them, don't watch them, right? And I will try to, going forward, be sure that I point. This is the last thing I'm talking about, because everything else is done. Again, should probably mention before I mention that I'm going into purchases. No one's perfect. And, but maybe that would be the thing. If you make Flosstube videos, there are people who are feeling stressed out by it. So maybe adjust the order, so that way people who don't like to watch haul portions of Flosstube videos can just go ahead and end it. It's just a thought. But again, you do you. So, but these are my Fabric of the Month club. So color and cotton neutral. This is Papyrus from June. Beautiful neutral. Could put anything on it, right? And then from Fiber Delicious Yummy Fabrics, May. This is April Showers Brings May Flowers. Look at that. I mean, isn't this just... I can't even. She's so incredibly talented. And then I get this. Mermaid Mules. Look at this beautiful, beautiful blue fabric. Steel kind of. I think I know what I'm going to stitch on it. I have the joint pattern with Blue Flower and Lindy Stitches for the By the Sea. Something. Sea Trip. Anyways. I don't remember what it's called. That's what I'm thinking about for this. Then I just went nuts with the 805 Stitchery Terra, and I had actually done two sets of purchases. So the first one up was Teresa Koget's fabric for Halloween. Look at that. I'm sure that this was not intentional, but I love the fact that like these two witches up here are decapitated. That's the back, and I really appreciate that Tara is now doing the non-vinyl bags. It's I actually like a vinyl bag. I prefer visual storage. I like being able to see things and pick something up and know what's in it and everything like that. But I'm also torn because they're not environmentally good, right? Whereas a fully fabric bag, you can recycle the fabric and everything. So anyways, that's my first bag. Then you can't have just one bag. So then I got this one. And look at this sweet animals having parties. Then I separate one because Tara keeps making these great bags. I have pumpkins also for Halloween because well, who doesn't need Halloween? It's right there. But what really got me and why I ended up buying the two bags is because she also had this one, which is a beautiful city one on there. She fussy cut it for you if you ask her to do so. And I asked her to highlight Bangkok because my mom is Thai. And then I also asked her if she could highlight London. And she did. And the inside are these stamps. And look at the fussy cut needle minder for London there. Come on. It's not gonna, please. But so yeah, those are my bags from Tara. There are multiple people who do bags out there. I'm not saying I'm exclusively an 805 Stitcher purchaser, but almost all of my bags are from Tara. She does a great job. I get them super quickly. She had forgotten to mail one of them. I had said, hey, it's missing. Got it like super fast. She had to mail the next day. Can't say enough good things about working for Tara. Last but not least, has not a purchase, but I want a giveaway. If you are not watching Michelle of the Giddy Stitcher, you should be checking that out. And because her channel is fantastic. She is a multi-crafter, so she doesn't talk just about cross-stitching. She talks about multiple things. So just be aware of that. Some people don't like the multi-crafters. I don't care. But I care about the person. So but I won a giveaway and it was a surprise. And so she was like, hey, can I just do it as a surprise? And I said, sure. She's like, I'm gonna go sneak and take a look and everything like that. And y'all, I can't even, the generosity of this gift is just, like, I almost cried when I opened this up because I could not believe that this was what she sent me. So, but this is from Modern American Vintage. It's something I've been drooling over for a long time, and I have not gotten it for myself. But look at this hair marker. Look at this. Beautiful, beautiful tool. Come on, focus. Focus. There it goes. Isn't that just beautiful? And it's for marking. For those of you who don't quilt, it's for marking quilts. And, oh, I can't even. I can't. It's just, thank you, Michelle. I'm not even sure if that even expresses it. I hope that you get some viewers from this video because, I'm going to put it in a place of honor, but right now it's staying very safely packaged. Oh, I did have a couple of things. I just remembered because I printed it and stuck it on the printer and I forgot to bring it over. Stitchery, also a Flosstuber, who, if you're not checking out, you should go check them out. They are pretty fun. I love watching their videos, and one of my don't miss people. And so they did a charity fundraising pattern where they donated. I can't remember who they donated to, but for in honor of Pride, they were donating for that, and so they did a bit of a charity fundraising pattern. I don't know why I keep saying charity fundraising pattern, and it was all Sailor Moon ones. So here is Sailor, the inner Senshi, the scouts you know and love, and here's the outer Senshi. My husband and I are obsessed with Sailor Saturn. We think that she needs her. And then the often not seen Sailor Starlights from season 5, which was never released on to TV here in the States. Controversial. So I think that they were doing the fundraising through Pride Month through June, and I don't know what they are planning on doing about. I think I saw a video, and I think they said that it would be still available on their Gumroad after Pride, but I think the fundraiser will end. And I know this, I'm filming this on July 1st, and I hope this gets uploaded today, but it might not, depending on how. Let's be real, I didn't do anything that requires editing. I'm just probably just slap on the title and the closing and get this uploaded. But if they have switched it out so that way it's a donation pattern going forward, right? So it was that they asked for a $5 donation for these patterns during Pride that they are donating to a nonprofit that serves the community. But if they have changed it to a pay what you want for it, please consider doing a donation to a local nonprofit that serves the community, LGBTQI plus community in some ways. Unfortunately, they don't always have the benefit of bandwidth of marketing that the national organizations do. And having worked in 2 different nonprofits and being on a board of a nonprofit, local makes a difference. Like knowing what's on the ground, getting the people who are actually hands-on working with the community is huge. It makes a difference, and they tend not to get as much funding as the national organizations do. Not that the national organizations aren't good, because they're good too, but you know what I'm saying. You know what I mean. Kind of brings up a thing that I was thinking about sharing with y'all, and it's already an hour. It's already 53 minutes. Let's go to 60. But on my cruise, most of the people who work on the cruise are not Americans, and this is something that I can speak. So I am an immigrant. I was born, although I was always an American citizen, I consider myself an immigrant. I was born overseas. My family moved here when I was 7 years old. I was young enough to assimilate pretty well, but I still struggle. Struggle is not maybe the right word, but I am a child of an immigrant, and my dad, who is the American, lived overseas for more than half of his life, not just his adult life, his life. He spent more than half of it living overseas in Asia, and so so even then, like to a certain extent, although American was not, was a blend of cultures in and of itself. But even to this day, at 45, I'm 45, I'm more than happy to tell you that. I still encounter cultural shifts and things like that. That is just like, oh, that's not how I grew up. That's not things, things like that. And even in the nonprofit sphere, where we talk about making sure things are accessible and things like that, like it's also even a reminder that there's cultural differences in how people approach culture. Like one of the things that I thought, here's an interesting thought. This is a little bit rambly, or meandering. Like one of the things that I was in a conversation about was thank you letters after interviews, and whether or not the thought of whether or not you get one impact your decision to hire somebody if they don't send you a thank you letter after after an interview. And it was a very interesting conversation because there were people who definitely were like, well, that showed that they weren't interested, they weren't, things like that. But I did not grow up in a culture of sending thank you letters. Do I send thank you letters after interviews? Yes, because I was told that I had to, right? Someone taught me that. But when someone taught me that much later, I was like in law school, right? Where someone was like, this is part of the process if you don't do this, right? I had a career services center, people there who are like, this is like they actually taught us how to go through the interviewing process. And well, if no one ever told you, you wouldn't do that. And if you are a part of a culture that's not a thing you do, right? How would you know that, right? And so it was a very interesting, like, it's something so micro, but it's just cultural differences. So on my cruise, there were a lot of people who were not Americans, and I do not make any assumptions about whether or not how long they've been speaking English or things along that lines. My mother has spoken English her entire life. She's not considered a native speaker. She is fluent. She speaks English without any problem. She thinks in English when she speaks in English. Like, it's not, she's spoken it her entire life, but she speaks it with an accent. She doesn't have the same grasp of the language that I do by comparison. Um, and because it was not her primary language, even though she's spoken it her entire life. She does not remember a time in her life where she did not speak English, but she learned it from non-English speakers who are non-native, right? She does not consider herself a native speaker, even though she's spoken her entire life. She learned it from other people who learned English from other people, and so it started making me think about like how we use language, like on the cruise. Like, you definitely saw, I definitely saw people who were not kind to the people who were working on the ship. You could tell that there was an assumption that English was a second language, which may not be the case. They may have spoken it the entire time, but it's just a different grasp of the language, right? People who are multilingual speak very differently, right? I know people who are multilingual and they are fluent, but people make judgments on that. Like, you hear accents and they make judgment on it. And then there's the whole colonial part of it, right? Which is that if people speak with an accent or they don't use the words the way that you think they should use the words, then they have used language as a attack, as a weapon, being like, oh, they're stupid, they don't understand. How am I supposed to do anything when you don't communicate well, right? Like, oh, that type of thing, right? And it's always been thrown onto the non-English speaker or the person to speak the language of the person who's in power, has a way to keep people down, right? And you see that a lot, especially in the United States, for the descendants of people who were enslaved. And so it's and as well as our first Americans, right? Our indigenous people, language was also used as a weapon against them. And it's been wonderful to see in history, and even now, people use that kind of stuff against, as a weapon for themselves, right? As a tool for their own advancement and protection of their communities. But it did make me think about things, right? Like, do I do that, right? Like, even though I am a child of an immigrant and I am hyper conscious of how people talk to her and assume she was stupid and things like that. Like, do I do that? Like, I just do I allow people who don't speak the way that I speak to, as a way to kind of be like, what, and I saw that on the cruise, right? And then I also found myself like, because I adapted my language, and I still adapt my language to make sure that my mom understands things. And also, when I work with clients, I work with a wide range of people of different backgrounds, of education, language skills, communication skills. No, without considering their ethnic background or their immigration background, by the way, right? Because I have met people who are immigrants who have way better English than I do, right? Their understanding of the English language is significantly superior to me. And then I've met people who've lived in the United States their entire life, spoken only English in their entire life, who are functionally illiterate, and that's not their fault. That's the nature of the level of education that they have access to and things like that, right? So you always have to think about, like, don't make assumptions about people's communication skills, right? But I find myself adapting, right, because I think it's just as important for me to adapt my language to make sure that people understand me. But I also find it really important that when I'm talking to people who don't have, that I understand what they're saying to me, right? Like that is when they're saying something and I'm like, I don't make assumptions that I grasp things, right? I try to parrot things back to them. I rephrase it back to them in a way that I'm like, is this what I'm supposed to be understanding, and that kind of stuff. And and I found myself even doing that on the ship, when just like asking for like things, like for food and stuff like that, like just being sure that we were on the same page and stuff like that. So anyways, I don't know what that means. I don't know why I went on that. This week has been hard, and I think that sometimes that it's more than intent. You have to kind of look at, I think intent matters, I think context matters. I think it's really important when you're communicating with people that you consider that, and you have to think about how what you say lands, but also like are people using language as a weapon against people, right? Oh, you didn't say it the right way, or well, why didn't you just say it that way if they said things differently? And also, just as a reminder, maybe what you think the definition of a word is the definition of a word, and maybe you don't have, again, I've met people. I am a native speaker, who definitely have a better grasp of English than I do. So that's that. If I can get everything uploaded and whatnot, I'm going to stick in a couple of short videos that I took from our cruise. I'll add about another 2 minutes to the end of this. If for some reason I was not able to add it on, sorry. I'll probably cut this out. Maybe I won't. We'll see. We'll see how my editing skills, how strongly I feel about my editing today. I hope that everyone's doing well. I've missed y'all. And I hope you're doing good, and I hope you enjoyed this, and even my musings at the end. Hopefully that didn't alienate anybody. Hopefully any comments about like, hey, let's all try to communicate better doesn't alienate people. But me, you do you. So, I'll see you in a month, and everyone, wherever you are, I hope you're having a stitching good time. Hopefully there's some videos at the end of this. If not, see you next time.
You'll see these darker brown ones. Those are actually juvenile bald eagles. And if you'll notice, a couple of these guys coming through the water, they're gonna miss the fish. They're really poor hunters. It's pretty funny to watch them struggle sometimes. They're, especially in the first couple years, they're big scavengers. Their bones are actually filled with water when they're first born. And so you can imagine trying to run an obstacle course with 2 jugs of water in each hand. You're probably not going to do so hot. Oh. And that's basically what it's like for these guys hunting.
Aww. They both landed on the same bridge and started saying.
Aww. It's because it's probably a mama and their babies.
We can get one more good one. We take off here. There we go. Look at that!
Nailed it.
Yeah, these mature ones are much better. When they're diving, they can get going about 30, 40 miles an hour.
Ready? I'm ready.
1, 2, 3.
Woohoo!
Well, look at you.
You can tell they've done this a couple times.